That Thanksgiving, I stood in my wedding dress when my mother stabbed me in the heart, not with a knife, but her WORDS. "We're not funding this circus," she spat. My father crossed his arms silently, and my older sister, Blair, smirked like she was savoring it. I didn't yell, I didn't beg. I said one word, understood, and walked out, never looking back. But the real show was only just beginning. My name's Camille Hawthorne. I was 26, engaged to the only man who ever saw me, not who my family demanded I be. Theo was gentle, principled, and worked with a trisque youth in Nashville. Our wedding was scheduled at the Franklin Manor estate, an intimate venue with a gorgeous oak-lined path I'd dreamed of since college. I'd planned every detail myself. Invitations sent, vendors booked. Then one morning, I was summoned to my parents' colonial house in Brentwood like some disobedient child. The moment I stepped in, I felt it, judgment in the air. My mother, Marion, was standing stiff near the fireplace like a CEO about to fire someone. My father, Arthur, wouldn't even look at me. Blair lounged across the couch, sipping coffee and smiling. "We're not funding this nonsense," Marion declared. "This wedding is a mistake." I stared, too stunned to speak. "He's beneath you," she added. "He's got no ambition, no future. You deserve more." Theo had a heart of gold and a spine of steel, but in their eyes, he didn't wear a suit, so he didn't matter. Blair laughed. "Better luck next time, sis." They'd already called the venue and vendors. Everything was canceled. Every detail I spent months on gone, and I wasn't even consulted. But I wasn't 16 anymore. This wasn't just about Theo. This was about every dream they had crushed. I walked out, heartbroken but calm. I sent them a text weeks later, after their dozens of missed calls. "The circus is already full. What would you have done if your own family forged your signature and destroyed your wedding? Would you forgive them? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because this is where it gets wild." A week after I walked out, I met with a lawyer named Vanessa Kroll. I'd brought the shredded remains of my wedding contracts, just hoping for clarity. I didn't expect what she'd uncover. Vanessa flipped through the paperwork, her brow furrowed. "Camille, this isn't your signature." "What?" She slid the cancellation form for the Franklin Manor across the desk. My name was scribbled at the bottom in a clumsy imitation. My stomach turned. "This is forgery," Vanessa said. "And if your parents or sister sent this to cancel without your permission, there are legal consequences." I sat back, the betrayal sinking in anew. They hadn't just stopped funding my wedding. They'd impersonated me, violated my autonomy, stolen a day I had dreamed of, and then came a twist that hit me like a truck. A friend from college texted me that night. "Hey, is it true Blair's store is going under? Heard your parents are bailing her out big time." Blair owned a high-end boutique in downtown Nashville, one of those designer stores where everything smelled like imported roses and privilege. I hadn't known she was drowning in debt, but suddenly, everything clicked. The money for my wedding, gone. Theo's lack of ambition, just an excuse. They didn't cancel my wedding to protect me. They canceled it to cover for Blair. I went numb. Blair always got a free pass. When I wanted to study fashion in LA, I was told it was a phase. They made me get a finance degree and work at my dad's firm. But Blair, she majored in luxury branding, took creative retreats to Miami, spent their money like Monopoly cash. And now, her failing business had swallowed my wedding whole. But I wasn't going to let it end there. Back at Vanessa's office, we reviewed every vendor they contacted. Forged email threads, faked phone numbers, even a falsified voicemail they created to impersonate me. The lengths they went to was criminal, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the final blow. My uncle Mason called. We hadn't spoken in years. He lived in Charlotte now, semi-retired. He said, "Camille, have you heard about your grandfather's marriage trust?" I blinked. "What?" Turns out, my grandfather had left a $300,000 trust specifically for me. Not for Blair, not for my parents. It was locked behind one condition. It would be released upon my legal marriage. Uncle Mason had checked the books. My parents were trustees, and they'd been secretly withdrawing funds for years. Vacations, home renovations, and yes, Blair's boutique. Every penny they spent came out of my future. Now it all made sense. They hadn't just sabotaged my wedding. They sabotaged it because they knew the moment I married Theo, the trust would legally transfer into my name, and their fraud would be exposed. So they forged my signature, lied to my face, canceled my happiness. All to protect their dirty little secret. I hung up the phone with Mason and stared at the wall in silence. I wasn't just the black sheep. I was the golden goose they kept in a cage. This wasn't about forgiveness. This was war. I filed the lawsuit 2 days later. Fraud, forgery, misappropriation of trust funds. Vanessa moved fast, freezing the remaining assets in the trust, subpoenaing vendor records, and sending official notices to my parents and Blair. Within a week, their lawyer responded, panicked and disorganized. That night, I got a call from my mother. "Camille, we need to talk," she said, her voice shrill, on the edge of unraveling. "Franklin Manor won't refund the deposit. We're out $30,000. I held the phone in silence, letting her stew in it. She kept talking like we were still playing house. "We thought we were doing the right thing. Your father, he didn't mean, just come over, we'll fix it." "Fix it?" I said. "You mean like how you fixed my wedding behind my back?" In the background, I heard my dad mumble something weak. Then Blair chimed in, syrupy sweet. "Come on, Cam, don't be so dramatic. We just wanted what's best for you." No, they wanted what was best for themselves. I didn't respond. I hung up. Let them sit in the silence they created. The next day, Blair sent me an email. Her boutique had officially closed. She was rebranding, she claimed, but I knew what that meant: bankrupt. She asked if I could lend her 10 grand to get back on her feet. 10 grand from the trust they tried to steal. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent the entire email to Vanessa. By then, we had enough evidence to take the case to court. Uncle Mason agreed to testify. He brought notarized records showing repeated withdrawals from the trust over 5 years. All without my knowledge. My parents' attorney tried to claim it was a misunderstanding. They were protecting Camille, he said, from a marriage that didn't meet their standards. But the judge didn't buy it, not with the forged documents, not with the financial trail straight to Blair's boutique, not with the trust stipulations clear as day. Every lie, every fake smile, every cold justification unraveled in court. And when Vanessa read Blair's email out loud, even the court clerk stopped typing for a moment. When the verdict came, I didn't cry. I watched my mother's expression crack for the first time in my life. The judge ruled in my favor. The full $300,000 was returned to me, with additional damages to be paid by Marion, Arthur, and Blair. They also faced investigation for breach of fiduciary duty and fraud. Blair tried to plead ignorance. The judge wasn't having it. And just like that, the empire of lies they built came crashing down. But I wasn't done yet. The day after the court ruling, I stood alone in the very place they tried to erase, Franklin Manor. Only this time, I wore my wedding dress for real. Theo and I decided to get married exactly where we were meant to, same date, same venue, but with new vows written from pain and power. No parents, no Blair, no apologies. Just people who showed up for us. My Uncle Mason flew in with his new wife. My best friend Zara came from Chicago. Even Theo's old mentor officiated. It wasn't the extravagant event we'd once planned. It was better. There were no fake smiles, no whispers about status. Just laughter, real tears, and dancing under the Tennessee sky. But one moment hit harder than the rest. After the ceremony, while everyone toasted and Theo spun me across the dance floor, I slipped away for just a moment. In the bridal suite, I opened my laptop and pulled up a saved email. Subject line: "Goodbye, Marion, Arthur, Blair. The court showed me who you really are. You lied, you stole. You forged my name and tried to control my life for your own comfort. But I'm not your safety net anymore. Do not contact me again. Camille." I clicked send. A breath left my body like I'd been holding it for years. Later that night, Theo found me by the fire pit, my shoes kicked off, dress a little dirtied from dancing. "You okay?" he asked, sliding his hand into mine. "I am now," I said, looking at the glow of the fire. In the weeks that followed, the fallout hit hard for them. My father lost his license after the court findings were shared with the state board. My mother's reputation as a local society woman was ruined. Her charity board quietly asked her to step down. And Blair, she filed for bankruptcy. But that wasn't my concern anymore. Theo and I moved into a small house near East Nashville. Cozy, quiet, hours. I quit my finance job, the one they forced me into, and enrolled in design school. I dug out the old sketchbook I once hid in a box beneath my bed. Now it lay open on my studio table, covered in fresh designs. Ideas, freedom. I started making dresses, my own line. I called it Feral Thread, because once you tame a girl for too long, the wild doesn't die. It waits, and me, I wasn't waiting anymore. 6 months after the wedding, the calls started again. First, it was Marion. Her voice was frail, like she was trying to play the mother card again. "Camille, please, we didn't mean for things to go this far. Can we talk?" Then Arthur, trying his old quiet charm. "Just 5 minutes, sweetheart. I think you owe us that." Finally, Blair left a voicemail that started fake sweet and ended bitter. "You got your money, okay? So maybe you could help me out now like a real sister would." I didn't reply. Instead, I texted Blair back just 5 words. "The circus is already full." Through the grapevine, mostly Uncle Mason and a few old neighbors, I heard the full fallout. Arthur was let go from his firm. Marion had taken a job managing inventory at a local boutique, and Blair moved in with them, defaulting on every credit line she had. Their kingdom was ashes. Meanwhile, Theo and I, we thrived. The trust fund let us launch a small startup studio out of our garage. I designed custom brittleware for women like me, women who had been dismissed, underestimated, and silenced. The kind of women who walked into marriage not to please their family, but to finally become themselves. One afternoon, as I was pinning a new design on the mannequin, Theo brought me coffee. He kissed the top of my head and smiled. "You look like her again." "Who?" "The girl in your sketches." That stopped me cold, because he was right. I was no longer the obedient daughter who swallowed her voice. I was Camille Hawthorne, designer, wife, survivor. Sometimes I still thought of them, not out of longing but as a reminder, of what happens when you confuse control with love, of what I survived, and most of all of what they lost. They lost a daughter, a sister, a legacy for the sake of a lie. I gained something more, a marriage built on truth, a business built from broken pieces, and a future that, for the first time, was mine.